Have you ever just felt a sudden, totally unexplainable pang of isolation? Well, you're absolutely not alone in that. Today, in this explainer, we're diving into a profoundly fascinating philosophical text. We're zeroing in on Chapter 1, Love in Humans, to uncover the actual root of this universal experience. We're going to unpack these complex ideas and map out a structured path from total isolation to deep, meaningful connection. So let's get right into it.
Let's start with a deeply personal, yet universally human question. Why do we suddenly feel lonely? I mean, really think about it for a second. You could be standing in a crowded room, surrounded by coworkers, or even sitting around the dinner table with your family, and yet, literally out of nowhere, this massive wave of isolation just washes right over you. What exactly triggers that? Is it just some modern societal problem, or is it something baked into the very biological and spiritual fabric of how we exist? The source text actually captures this feeling with a vivid and honestly kind of amusing metaphor. It describes it as the anxiety over drifting like duckweed in muddy water. Now, have you ever actually felt like a piece of duckweed? You know, just sort of drifting through life, completely untethered, floating on the surface with absolutely zero solid ground beneath you? It's such a specific image, isn't it? The author is suggesting that this feeling isn't just a fleeting mood or, a bad Tuesday. It's actually a fundamental symptom of how we exist in the world.
And that brings us to our core source material, which outlines a really comprehensive philosophy on the nature of truth, human existence, and ultimately happiness. What's truly captivating here is that the author doesn't just, point out this duckweed condition and leave it at that. They actually posit a structured framework to explain exactly why this loneliness happens in the first place, and more importantly, present a practical philosophy on how to cure it. So let's unpack the mechanics of this step by step.
According to the text, the root cause of our loneliness is intimately tied to the very nature of our creation. The premise here argues that humans were deliberately created as separate, distinct individuals. And why? Well, to foster unique individual progress and evolution. We're literally meant to grow and develop our own unique characteristics. But there's a profound trade-off to this setup. This very separation, this physical and spiritual independence, is exactly what guarantees our loneliness. Because we are individuals, we are inherently isolated from one another. It's built into the system. So, if we're fundamentally isolated by our very nature as separate entities, what's the solution to this anxiety? Well, the text presents a massive philosophical pivot: love as the ultimate bridge. According to this framework, the core reason love even exists in the universe is simply to bridge that vast gap between our isolated individual existences. It is the essential mechanism designed to connect our separate little islands of humanity. Now, the author draws a really sharp, fascinating distinction here regarding what love actually looks like in practice. On the one hand, we have taking love. The text compares this to wandering through a vast, scorching desert, desperately demanding water from everyone you meet. On the other hand, we have giving love, which is compared to grabbing a shovel and digging your own well. The crucial paradigm shift we're talking about is moving away from endlessly demanding affection to actively giving it. And crucially, this means giving love without seeking any reward or return whatsoever. It's a completely unconditional output.
The author challenges us with this exact metaphor of the well, because instead of wandering around with an empty cup, complaining about being thirsty, and begging others for a drink, the text argues that true love asks you to do the hard work yourself. True love is the act of digging your own well. It's that profound realization that the source of love isn't something you can just extract or demand from others, right? Rather, it's something you have to cultivate from within yourself so you can generously share it.
Okay, so how do we actually do this in our real daily lives? The text breaks this down into 3 clear, actionable steps. Step 1, stop demanding water. Just put down the empty cup. Step 2, look at your own feet. Focus on where you are standing right now and the resources and strengths you already possess. And step 3, dig a well to quench the thirst of others. This right here is where high-level philosophy meets daily human interaction. Because when you exert the effort to dig a well for the benefit of the people around you, your own thirst for connection naturally gets quenched in the process.
The author then takes this concept of giving love and elevates it to a macro, almost cosmic level. They define this active giving love as a direct manifestation of a universal principle called progress. And progress in this specific philosophical framework isn't just about, technological upgrades or economic advancement. It is the powerful, active force of loving others, giving them hope and infinitely uplifting them. When you love someone in a way that actually encourages them to grow and overcome their struggles, you are actively participating in the progressive force of the universe itself.
And right alongside progress is its complementary principle, harmony. If progress is the force that pushes us forward, Harmony is the universal lifeline that catches us when we fall. The text describes this type of love as a tether that gently wraps around the wounded and prevents them from drifting away. Remember that rootless duckweed we talked about earlier? Harmony is exactly like tossing a lifeline to that duckweed. It's the compassionate, nurturing side of love that brings genuine peace and stability to anyone suffering from profound isolation.
But there is a very, very important caveat to all of this. The author notes that giving love absolutely has to begin with discovering the profound value that is already inside you. The logic is honestly quite simple. You cannot give water to others if your own well is bone dry, right? According to the philosophy, you have to first recognize the inherent light and potential within yourself. Once you actually accept that internal value, you suddenly possess this endless reservoir to offer the rest of the world.
And that leads us to the ultimate realization of Chapter 1. The absolute core of this entire philosophy is that loving itself is the true happiness. Let that sink in. Happiness isn't found in being loved. It isn't found in receiving praise or attention or getting things from people. True, unshakable happiness is found in the active, powerful state of loving others without seeking a single reward. When you finally realize you have the agency to dig that well and provide water to the thirsty, you transcend your own individual loneliness entirely. The very act of giving love is what actually makes you whole.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final, provocative question. You've got the tools now, you understand the metaphor of the well, and you know the real philosophical root of that isolation we all feel from time to time. So, who will you dig your well for today? Don't wait around for someone else to fill your cup. Take a look at your own feet and consider actively applying this philosophy in your own life. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive.